What is going on, everybody? New York Sports Up here, coming at you with another New York Yankees video, and I'm going to be doing my New York Yankees 2020 season preview for the upcoming 2020 season. Now, opening day starts tomorrow. I'm super pumped for opening day. Yankees-Nationals tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Going to be the first baseball game of the 2020 season. Now, the Yankees will be playing against the Nationals, then the Dodgers will play the Giants right after the game. So there's only going to be 2 baseball games on tomorrow, and then July 24th, which is going to be Friday, is going to be most of the games. It's going to be where most teams play. So the Yankees and Nationals play tomorrow at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. against the Nationals. That game starts tomorrow, and I'm super excited for that game. Obviously, I'm going to be doing my pregame for that game, and I'm also going to be doing my series pregame, or my preview at least, and I'm also going to be doing the postgame, obviously. So I'm very excited for that game. I'm super pumped to see Gerrit Cole pitch. We've never really seen Gerrit Cole pitch before besides in spring training. I'm super pumped to see Gerrit Cole, and I'm just super pumped for baseball in general. It's been so long since we've seen it, and the regular season finally starts tomorrow. That's words I've never thought I was going to say. I really thought the season was not going to play out this year, but they ended out, getting a season, and we will be seeing regular baseball tomorrow. So the Yankees play the Nationals tomorrow, and now let's go over the season expectation. Let's start off with the players, and the first position I'm going to go over is the catchers. So I think we'll have 2 catchers on the roster, and the first catcher is Gary Sanchez. And Gary Sanchez is one of the most frustrating players to watch on this team, because we all know Gary Sanchez is super talented. He's just got to stay healthy, and he has to work on his defense, because his defense is atrocious. He might be the worst defensive catcher in baseball, and I think Gary Sanchez can be a top 2 or 3 catcher in baseball if he can, if he can stay healthy and if he can work on his defense. He's one of the worst defensive catchers in the league, and I think it's kind of holding Gary Sanchez back. I think he's got to improve in his defense, and I think Gary Sanchez can be one of the best catchers in baseball if he's not already is. He's one of the most talented. It's just we need Gary Sanchez to stay healthy. And he also needs to improve on his defense, and he needs to hustle. He's got to run to first base. He's very lazy sometimes. He's very slow. He's got to run to first base. That's something he also needs to do. But Gary Sanchez can be one of the most, can be one of the best players on this team. He's just got to stay healthy, and he has to work on his defense. That's kind of the thing with Sanchez. He's very frustrating, but he's really talented. We just need him to stay healthy, and we need him to work on his defense. And the other catcher, I think the other catcher we will have on the roster is Kyle Higashioka. Now, Kyle Higashioka's been with the Yankees for a couple years, and he's pretty much always been the third-string catcher. Now, Austin Roman's not on the team anymore, so Kyle Higashioka should be the backup catcher for the Yankees this season. And this dude's he's not really that great. I mean, he's kind of he's a bad hitter. I mean, he really doesn't do anything at the plate. But as long as he plays solid defense, I'll be pretty happy. Not a lot of expectations for Kyle Higashioka. Just play solid defense, and I'll be happy. So now we move over to the first baseman. And the first baseman I want to talk about is Luke Voit. Luke Voit's a guy Luke Voit's an absolute stud. Luke Voit's a guy that's going to hit in the middle of the order, hit 6th, hit 7th, and hit around 260, hit 270, and Luke Voit, hit a ton of home runs, and obviously it sucks that we won't hear the Luke chant this year. That's one of my favorite things that Luke Voit does. Obviously, when he hits a home run, we do the Luke chant, and Luke Voit is, once again, one of the best hitters on this team. He usually hits in the middle of the lineup, hits 260, hits around 20-25 home runs. Now, I don't think he'll hit that much this year because of the 60-game season. I expect Luke Voit to hit a decent amount of home runs, get on base, walk a lot, hit 260, 270, and I'll be happy. Luke Voit's one of the best hitters on this team. I expect him to hit around 6th or 7th, and Luke Voit's great. Not a lot to say about Voit. He's a great first baseman. I expect Luke Voit to probably hit around the middle of the lineup, hit a ton of home runs, and hit 260, and that's my expectations for Voit. Now, even though his defense isn't great, but that's my expectation for Voit. Hit around 260, 270, hit in the middle of the lineup most of the time, and hit a ton of home runs. So that's my expectation for Voit. Move over to another first baseman we have on this team is Mike Ford. Mike Ford is one of the best bench bats on this team. Now, Mike Ford, I feel like, can be kind of a Swiss Army knife type player. Now, say we're down by a run, Mike Ford can pinch hit. I really, really like Mike Ford. I feel like a lot of Yankee fans really like this guy. I'm aboard him. I really like Mike Ford a lot. I think he can be a really good bench bat for this team, and maybe he fights for the starting job with Voit. I still think Voit can get the spot, but Mike Ford maybe could put up a fight with Voit for the starting job at first base. I still think Voit gets the opening day lineup, but Mike Ford definitely has a shot of maybe making the opening day lineup. Mike Ford's played great for the Yankees ever since he got called up, and mainly because of all the injuries that we had last year. Mike Ford came up to the Yankees and played great. I mean, Mike Ford, I think, hit around 270, and it hit a lot of home runs. I mean, Mike Ford's got a lot of pop in his bat. I really like Mike Ford. Plays great defense at first base. He can be one of the best. I think he might even be the best bench bat on this team. And when Mike Ford's in the game, he usually plays pretty well. He's a really good pinch hitter as well. I got high expectation for Ford. I think Ford's going to be a really good player for the Yankees team, and when Luke Voigt's not playing, I think Ford can be really good at first base. I'm a big fan of Mike Ford. I think he's a really good player, and yeah, I think Mike Ford's going to be pretty good this year. A really good bench bat. That's kind of how I describe Mike Ford. Kind of just a really good bench bat. Kind of a Swiss Army knife type player. Moving over to second base, and the first second base we're going to talk about is DJ LeMahieu. What do I really need to say about DJ LeMahieu? Had an amazing year last year. DJ LeMahieu could even hit over 400 this year. Now, DJ LeMahieu might not get in the opening day lineup, obviously because he's still recovering from COVID, so he might not make the opening day lineup. He might need to get used to baseball a little bit more. But he did play in the two interleague games. Two exhibition games. He did play in those games, so that means LeMahieu could get the opening day spot. But it definitely could not be him. It could be Tyler Wade. But if LeMahieu does get the opening day job, what can we expect out of this guy? I mean, LeMahieu was amazing last year. I expect him to play the same as good as he was last year. Probably hit or maybe even hit 400. I mean, LeMahieu's great. There's not really much to say about DJ LeMahieu. He's a great player. Plays pretty much every position in the infield. LeMahieu's awesome. One of the best hitters on this team. That's my expectations for LeMahieu. And Tyler Wade's a guy, not a lot to say about Tyler Wade. He's got a ton of speed. He's not great of a hitter. He plays pretty good defense at second base. But Tyler Wade's really not much of a hitter. He's more of a pinch runner type player. So once again, don't expect a lot of games played by Tyler Wade. He might get the opening day. He might be in the opening day lineup because DJ LeMahieu might not be in the lineup. So Tyler Wade probably will be like at the number 9 spot in the lineup. But once again, Tyler, not a lot of expectations for Wade. He'll be more of a pinch runner type player. So that's my expectations for Wade. Once again, play pretty good defense and steal a lot of bases, and I'll be happy. Shortstop position, Gleyber Torres. I think Gleyber Torres will be the best hitter on the Yankees this season, and he's my pick to win the American League MVP. That's my expectations for Gleyber. I think he wins the MVP. He's the best player on this team. Even though he's got to improve his defense, I'll admit his defense at shortstop isn't great, but Gleyber is an amazing hitter. Hit 38 home runs last year. I expect him to win the MVP this year. Gleyber Torres is going to go off this year. He's going to win MVP. I love Gleyber. Gleyber's one of my favorite players on this team. He's probably my second favorite player on the team besides Judge, of course. But once again, I love Gleyber. One of the best players on this team. If he can improve his defense, Gleyber can be a top 5 shortstop in the game. He's my pick to win the MVP. So obviously, I have very high expectations for Torres, with good reason. Gleyber's one of the best players on this team. Those are my expectations for Torres. The other shortstop we have on this team is Thairo Estrada. Now, I don't know if Estrada will make the roster or not, but Thairo Estrada has played really well for the Yankees when he's been on the field. Now, Thairo Estrada, I think, only played like 30-40 games for the Yankees last year, and obviously we had a ton of injuries, so Estrada came up and, played for Didi sometimes when Didi got hurt, and Thairo Estrada's played great. For the Yankees. Estrada's been great when he's on the field, plays pretty good defense at shortstop, and Estrada's a really good hitter. The dude gets on base, he can hit doubles, hits triples, hits singles, got speed. I really like Thairo Estrada. I really like this kid. I think Estrada's a really good player, and maybe for the future, Estrada can get more playing time. But this year, I don't see Thairo Estrada getting a ton of playing time. I expect him to be more of a bench bat, and maybe he won't even make the roster at all. But I expect Estrada, if he does make the roster, to be more of a bench bat. Third base, Gio Urshela. What is there to say about Gio Urshela? He came onto the scene last year and was amazing for the Yankees. He hit over 300, was incredible with runners in scoring position. That's why the Yankees were so good with it, because Gio Urshela was amazing with runners in scoring position. Gio Urshela was a player who we expected to be more of a bench bat, and Gio Urshela became our starting third baseman because Andujar got hurt, and Urshela was great for the Yankees. I mean, the dude's probably the best defensive player on the team, plays incredible defense at third base. He's a great hitter. He gets on base, smacks the baseball, hits singles, hits doubles. He's got speed. I love Gio Urshela. Probably going to start at third base over Andujar, and I'll tell you my expectations for Andujar in a second, but Gio Urshela plays incredible defense. My expectations for Urshela, he could fall off a little bit because he did exceed expectations last year, but I see Gio Urshela as a player who plays great defense at third base and, hits over 300 and plays well, brings runners in with runners in scoring position. Gio Urshela is kind of the guy you want in a baseball player, hits well with runners in scoring position, plays great defense at third base. I love Gio Urshela. Those are my expectations for him, but I would be surprised if he falls off a little bit. The other third baseman we have on this team is a guy who could definitely start, and that is Miguel Andujar. Miguel Andujar is an incredible ball player. Now, Miguel Andujar barely played last year. He barely even played the whole season because Andujar struggled with a torn labrum. He had to get surgery to repair it. So Andujar barely even played last year. And even when he was on the field, he clearly was not the same player. So Andujar was pretty much hurt for the entire season. And Miguel Andujar is I think, my sleeper pick to maybe even be the best hitter on this team. if you just watch Miguel Andujar swing the bat, this dude's an absolute stud. And if Miguel Andujar can stay healthy, he can be an absolute beast. I mean, this dude ropes the ball. This dude's a beast, and he's just got to stay healthy. I mean, I think Miguel Andujar could possibly take over Urshela at third base. Now, I know Miguel Andujar is a horrible defender. I mean, that dude's terrible at third base, but he could still play a little bit of left field. Obviously, we've experimented Miguel Andujar in the outfield. So Miguel Andujar, I think, definitely has a shot to play the outfield. And, yeah, I don't expect Miguel Andujar to play too much this year because of Gio Urshela, and obviously Brett Gardner and Stanton can play left. We also have Mike Tauchman. So I don't see Miguel Andujar maybe playing like 30, 40 games this year. I don't really see him playing too much. I think he's too good of a player to be not played. I really think he's got to play more. And, yeah, those are my expectations for Andujar. I think Andujar is definitely a sleeper to maybe even be one of the best hitters on this team. Andujar is a beast. Now we move over to the outfielders. The first outfielder I'm going to talk about is most likely going to be a starting left fielder, and that is Brett Gardner. Now, I'd rather have Mike Tauchman to be our starting left fielder, but it looks like it's going to be Gardner. Now, Gardner is 37 years old, I believe, so he's not going to be the same player he used to be. Obviously, the balls were juiced last year. We had a different baseball, so that's probably the main reason why Brett Gardner hit 27 home runs last year. Brett Gardner had a great year at 36 years old. Brett Gardner probably had the best season of his career, but I kind of expect Gardner to fall off a little bit because he's up there in age. I think this is Gardner might be his last year in baseball, so I expect Gardner to probably maybe start the year as the starting left fielder and then probably move to the bench. So those are my expectations for Gardner. I expect Gardner to probably be one of the worst hitters on this team. My expectations are not high on Gardner. I don't really have high expectations for him. Mike Tauchman's a guy that I have really, really high expectations for. I think Mike Tauchman is going to be great this year. I really, really like Mike Tauchman. He's a great left fielder. He plays great defense out in left, and the dude's a stud. I mean, Mike Tauchman had some great games during exhibition. Had a really good game against the Mets. I think he got 3 hits. I really like Mike Tauchman. I think Mike Tauchman will be the starting left fielder for this team at the end of the year. Now, Mike Tauchman did have that season-ending injury last season. We'll see if Tauchman can play the full season. But I think Gardner will start off the year, struggle, and then Tauchman will come in and replace him in left field. I'm a big fan of Mike Tauchman. Those are my expectations for him. I think Tauchman's going to be great this year. The other left fielder I want to talk about is Clint Frazier. Now, I think Clint Frazier, I've kind of given up on him. I think Clint Frazier, he's a great player. He's really talented. But I expect Frazier to probably be traded for a pitcher. I don't expect Clint Frazier to play the full season. I really think he's going to get traded. I think he's kind of a waste of space. I really don't see Clint Frazier playing that much this season. We already have Tauchman and Gardner, 2 left fielders. We also have Stanton, who can play left, obviously. So we already really have 3 left fielders. I really don't see the point of keeping Clint Frazier at this point. Now, he's a really talented player, and I like the kid, but I still think Clint Frazier doesn't really have a spot here. I don't really see Clint Frazier playing the full season. I expect him to probably be traded at some point. So those are my expectations for Frazier. I think he'll play like maybe 10, 15 games and then probably get traded for a pitching piece at the deadline. Now we move over to the center field position. Now let's talk about Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is a player that I'm not a huge fan of. I know a lot of people really like Aaron Hicks. Personally, I don't. I don't know. I just don't really like Aaron Hicks. I feel like he's kind of overrated. He's very streaky. I mean, he's very inconsistent at times. I feel like there's times where he's playing great, there's times where he's playing awful. He's a great defensive center fielder. Obviously, he had that amazing catch against the Twins. I mean, the dude plays great defense, but he's such an inconsistent offensive hitter. I hate when Aaron Boone puts Aaron Hicks at the top of the lineup. I hate that. Aaron Hicks is not at the top of the lineup hitter. He's definitely one of the worst hitters on this team. He's got to be 7 or 8. I mean, not saying Aaron Hicks is a good player, but we have so many good hitters on this team. I don't see Aaron Hicks as one of the best. He's still a good hitter, but he's definitely one of the worst hitters on this team because we have so many good hitters. So Aaron Hicks has got to be one of the worst hitters on this team. I expect Aaron Hicks to hit 7th or 8th. I think he'll put up solid numbers, but once again, I don't want to see Aaron Hicks at the top of the lineup. Those are my expectations for Hicks. Next batter, Aaron Judge. We need Judge healthy. Aaron Judge is the best player on this team, I believe, when healthy. The dude plays incredible defense in right field, has a cannon of an arm. We need Aaron Judge healthy. And if Aaron Judge, he's my favorite player. I say that all the time. Aaron Judge is my favorite player on the Yankees. We need Aaron Judge to stay healthy. And if he can, Aaron Judge is a top player in baseball, top 10 player in baseball. I really don't need to say much about Judge. He's a top 10 player in baseball when healthy. Great defense in right field. Aaron Judge is awesome. We just need him to stay healthy. That's the main key. We need Aaron Judge to stay healthy. Giancarlo Stanton's the next guy. I know a lot of Yankee fans do not like this guy. A lot of people don't like Stanton, say the contract was bad, and so far the contract's not looking that good right now. But I believe Stanton will bounce back. I think Stanton will stay healthy, and I think Stanton will have an MVP form season this year. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think Giancarlo Stanton will have an MVP-like season this season. I believe in Stanton. I really think Stanton's one of the best hitters on this team. If he can stay healthy, Stanton is one of the best power hitters in baseball. I mean, you watch Stanton play in 2017. Stanton was unbelievable that year. If Stanton can stay healthy, he can return to 2017 form when he was with the Marlins. I'm saying that. I'm going to go out and say Stanton will be one of the best hitters on the Yankees this season. If he can stay healthy, Stanton will return to 2017 form this season. So that's going to wrap it up for the outfielders. And I'm pretty sure I've got, if I missed any hitters, I'm sorry about that. I'm pretty sure I got every single player that's on the roster. Now we're going to move over to the pitchers. Now the rotation is kind of a question right now, because they actually don't have Jordan Montgomery on the roster. I'm still going to talk about him, but they actually don't have Jordan Montgomery on the roster. So I'm kind of just going to talk about just the main pitchers on the rotation, and then I'll do the bullpen, and then I'll do obviously my record prediction. Sorry. So let's start off with the pitchers, and the first pitcher I'm going to talk about is Garrett Cole. Do I need to say anything else about Garrett Cole? I mean, he's my prediction to win the AL Cy Young this year. Garrett Cole is probably the best pitcher in the American League. The dude had over 300 strikeouts last year. I think he should have won the Cy Young over Verlander. Garrett Cole was amazing last season. I think Garrett Cole is easily the best pitcher on this team. I don't really think that's a question. He's easily the best pitcher on this team without a doubt. What are my expectations for Cole? Strike out a ton of guys. We'll see how he does on opening day. Don't be a bust. Don't waste. We better not waste $300 million. We need Garrett Cole to perform to the rate he did last year. Garrett Cole is an amazing pitcher, and he's easily the best pitcher on this team. Garrett Cole is going to be unbelievable for the Yankees this year. He's my pick to win the AL Cy Young. Garrett Cole is going to be unbelievable for this team. I'm so excited to watch him pitch. I mean, the dude's unbelievable. The next pitcher I'm going to talk about, James Paxton. Now, Paxton had kind of a disappointing year last year. I was very disappointed in Paxton. I was very disappointed in Paxton. I thought Paxton was going to be a lot better. Obviously, we picked him up, from the Mariners, and I thought Paxton was going to be our number 2 starter. Paxton was more of our number 4. Paxton was not very good last year. He struggled with the long ball. He's a bad first inning pitcher. He's got to keep the runs down. Don't give up so much runs in the first inning. I think Paxton's ERA could be a lot lower if he can not give up so much runs in the first inning. Paxton's a really good pitcher. I think Paxton could be the number 2 for this team. We just need Paxton to, keep the home run ball down, keep the ball in the ballpark, and we need Paxton to not give up so much runs in the first inning. Besides that, Paxton's a good pitcher. We just need him to keep the ball in the ballpark and not give up so much runs in the first inning. Next pitcher, Masahiro Tanaka. Now, I don't think Tanaka is going to start for that game. I don't think Tanaka is going to make the opening day series. I don't see Tanaka pitching against the Nationals. I see Tanaka, missing the first, maybe missing his first 1 or 2 starts, and then Tanaka makes the roster. But Tanaka might miss his first start, so that might not be good for him. But Tanaka every single season, Tanaka continues to pitch really well for this team. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Tanaka. Tanaka does give up a decent amount of home runs, but Tanaka he's a really, really good pitcher. He's got nasty stuff. He's got a nasty, slider. He's got a nasty sinker. Tanaka's one of the nastiest pitchers in the game, and I know a lot of people don't like Tanaka. I think Tanaka is very underrated. I just think he pitches really solid every single season. I expect kind of the same thing from Tanaka every season. He's always pretty solid, so I expect the same thing from Tanaka. What he usually does. I feel like Tanaka's always pretty solid every season. So that's my expectations for Tanaka. If Tanaka can stay healthy, I think Tanaka can be a very solid pitcher. Not really high expectations for him, but not really low expectations either. I expect Tanaka to be flat out solid. Now the next pitcher we have is J Happ. J Happ was terrible. J Happ was J crap last year. He was awful. J Happ had a good September. Besides that, he was horrible. My expectations for Happ aren't very high. We'll see what Happ does. I mean, Happ is old. He's not the same pitcher he used to be. We'll see what Happ does this year. I don't really have high expectations for him. I think Happ, as long as Happ has maybe a sub-4 ERA, I'll be happy. Not really much to say about Happ. Just pitch decent at least, and I'll be happy. And the next pitcher I'm going to talk about is Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery pitched so well in that exhibition game against the Mets. Montgomery looked really good. Now, Montgomery, he's got to stay healthy. The past 2 years, Montgomery has been injury-riddled. I mean, the dude has not stayed healthy. He hasn't really stayed healthy the past couple of years. We need Monty to stay healthy. And Monty's a really solid pitcher. Monty's a very, very good number 5 when healthy. And I like Monty. He's got great stuff. He's a really good pitcher. I really like this kid. I think Monty's a great pitcher. We just need him healthy. Monty can be a very solid pitcher when healthy. Not really much to say. I think Monty's going to be great this year. I really do. Now, it's weird how he didn't make the opening day roster. I do think he'll join the team at some point. But I think if Monty can stay healthy, he'll be really good. I really like Monty. Those are my expectations for Jordan Montgomery. And I might as well include this guy. That's Jonathan Loaizaga. Now, Jonathan Loaizaga is not really in the rotation, but he definitely has a chance to make the rotation because of obviously Montgomery not making the roster. So I definitely think Jonathan Loáisiga definitely has a chance to make the roster, and Loáisiga's he's got good stuff. I think Loáisiga's a pretty good pitcher. Now, I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's bad. Loáisiga's got good stuff. He's okay. I don't really see him making the roster. I see him more as a reliever, but Loáisiga definitely has a chance of making definitely has a chance of making the rotation. He's a nice young pitcher. We'll see what Loáisiga does this year. That's my expectations for Loáisiga. Next up, Michael King. This kid's great. I mean, this kid's really, really good. I mean, Michael King, I feel like a lot of Yankee fans really like him. How can you blame him? Michael King's a great pitcher. A lot of Yankee fans really like this guy. I really like this guy. I think Michael King's going to make the rotation this year. I think Michael King's going to pitch really well. I really, really like Michael King. I really like this kid. He's got good stuff. He's a great pitcher. I really expect Michael King to be called up from AAA, make the Yankees team, and get a spot at the rotation this season. I have really high expectations for Michael King. I really like this kid. I think Michael King's really good, and I think he's definitely a guy who could make the rotation this season. He definitely has a chance. Now we move over to the relievers, and I'm not going to go over like the Stephen Tarpleys or the David Hales. I'm not going to go over those type of guys. I'm kind of going to go over the main relievers, the relievers who pitch every day. I'm not really going to go over like the back end of the bullpen. I'm just going to go over the main relievers. And the first reliever I'm going to talk about is Luis Cessa. Cessa's okay. I mean, he's not great, but he's not bad. Cessa's really bad at times. He's really good at times. Cessa's been with the Yankees for a couple years. He's okay. Cessa's okay. I mean, he kind of just delivers the same stuff every year. He's an okay pitcher. He's got pretty good stuff. Cessa's really bad at times. He's pretty good at times. We'll see what he does. Cessa's kind of a guy who pitches at the back end of the bullpen. Sub-4 ERA every season. Cessa's kind of just an okay pitcher. Next reliever I'm going to talk about is Tommy Kahnle. I love Kahnle. I think he's a little bit inconsistent, I'll admit. He does give up a decent amount of home runs, but I do think Kahnle's one of the best pitchers on this team. He's more of a middle reliever guy, and Kahnle's been with the Yankees for a couple years. I like his attitude. He's an electric pitcher. He pitches with a lot of energy. I really like that in the pitcher. I think Kahnle's one of our better relievers. He comes in the 6th, 7th inning and pitches really well. I like Kahnle a lot. Chad Green, and I kind of have mixed feelings with him. Green had a very kind of an inconsistent year last year. Green started off really bad and then returned to his old form, and then got bad again. Had a horrible outing in Game 6 of the ALCS against the Astros when he gave up that 3-run home run to Gurriel. I really mixed feelings with Chad Green. Now we'll see what he does this year. I feel like Green's just that 6th inning guy. I feel like on opening day when Cole leaves the game, obviously Cole's not going to go like 8 innings because they kind of want to limit his pitches a little bit. So Chad Green could come in the 6th inning, and he's got good stuff. He throws hard. But I'm just not really the biggest fan of Chad Green. I don't really know why. I'm just not really the biggest fan of him. I think Chad Green's a good pitcher, but I don't know. I just kind of have mixed feelings with him. And he's really bad at times. He's really great. He's great at times, but he's also really, really bad at times. So Chad Green's got to stay consistent. But when Chad Green is consistent, he's one of the better relievers on this team. Those are my expectations for Green. Next reliever I'm going to talk about is Zach Britton. Britton is going to be the guy. Britton is going to be the closer to start the year. Obviously, we're not going to have Chapman on the opening day roster to start the year. So Zach Britton is going to be the opening day closer. And Britton is a closer. I mean, Britton was a closer when he was with the Orioles. Britton might be you could argue he's the best reliever on this team. I would say it's Chapman, but you could say Zach Britton is the best reliever on this team. He's the perfect setup man, and he fills in for Dylan Betances. I love Britton. Britton's one of the nastiest relievers on this team. Had an ERA under 2 last year. Britton's definitely a top 10 reliever in the game. Britton's one of the best relievers on this team. Best relievers on this team. You could argue he's the best. Zach Britton's awesome. One of the best relievers on this team. Next reliever I'm going to talk about is Adam Ottavino. If Adam Ottavino can, keep the walks down, because Adam Ottavino did walk a lot of guys last year, he's one of the better pitchers on this team. I mean, Adam Ottavino was nasty last year. He has that slider that, he throws that slider like a frisbee. Adam Ottavino is absolutely nasty. He's just got to he's got to keep the walks down. I feel like Adam Ottavino can be a much better pitcher if he can stop walking. He walks a ton of guys. And if Adam Ottavino can keep the walks down, he's probably the nastiest reliever on this team. Middle relief guy. Adam Ottavino throws a slider. His slider is nasty. I mean, Adam Ottavino is a nasty pitcher. One of the better relievers on this team. I loved it when we picked him up. Obviously, he was with the Rockies. He was nasty there, and he's been nasty with the Yankees. We just need Adam Ottavino to keep the walks down. And now Adam Ottavino is one of the nastiest relievers on this team. I just need Adam Ottavino to stop walking so much. So those are my expectations for him. And the second to last reliever I'm going to talk about is, or the last one rather, it's going to be Aroldis Chapman. Now, Aroldis Chapman is one of the best pitchers on this team. He's probably a top 3 closer in the game. You could say he's 2. Aroldis Chapman, every single season, he continues to deliver nasty numbers, throws heat, throws over 100 miles per hour. Aroldis Chapman is absolutely nasty, and but he's got to throw the fastball more. I feel like he throws too much of the slider. I feel like he's just got to throw the fastball and just whiff it by batters. Aroldis Chapman throws heat. He's the Cuban Missile. I love Chapman, probably the best reliever on this team. Throws over 100 miles per hour. The dude's filthy. The dude's disgusting. I love Chapman. One of the best relievers on this team. So that's going to do it for the players. Now, I know I really didn't talk. I know there's a lot more players on the roster I could have talked about, but I kind of just stuck to the main relievers, kind of the main players. So I didn't really talk about like the David Hales or like the Stephen Tarpleys and the Nestor Cortez. I didn't really talk about those type of guys, but I kind of just wanted to talk about the main relievers on the team. So that's going to do it for this video. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations for the Yankees? Do you think they'll be a great team? Do you think they'll disappoint? Do you think they'll be a great team? I really think they're going to win the division, and I think this is the Yankees' year. They're going to finally win the World Series, and I feel like a lot of Yankee fans could agree with me there. I think the Yankees will win the World Series in 2020. What are your expectations for the Yankees? I'm pretty sure pretty much all Yankees fans would say the same thing, and that is win the World Series. It's World Series or bust this season. Yankees have a ton of pressure. They've got to win the World Series this season. In my record prediction, I think the Yankees go 41-19. I think they go 41-19, win the division, and they win the World Series. Let's go, Yankees. Let's win the World Series this season. We need to finally bring championship number 28 to the Bronx. Let's finally win number 28 this season. I'm super pumped for Yankee baseball to start tomorrow. Yankees, Nationals, make sure to stay tuned for my pregame. Tomorrow for the Yankees Nationals, my series preview as well. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Let's go, Yankees. Peace.